How's it going, everyone? So today I came across a mock draft on ProFootballNetwork.com. This mock draft does include an Aaron Rodgers trade where the Packers trade with the New York Jets. So today I want to break down this mock draft and give my thoughts if it were to go down this way. So before we dive into this mock draft, I want to give a shout out to Pristine Auction. As you guys know, I do giveaways of Packers memorabilia every single month. Last month was a full-size Aaron Jones helmet. That winner has already been announced on my community tab. And for this month, we have two items to give away. One, we have a signed Quay Packers jersey here for the first item. And for the second item, we have a signed AJ Hawk Packers photo here. Two really cool items. Really excited to give these away to you guys. So the way you guys can get into these giveaways and be a part of all future giveaways through Pristine Auction is heading over to their website, pristineauction.com, signing up on their website using registration code BAS, B-A-S. That'll enter you in this giveaway, all future giveaways, and also give you a free $10 site credit to use on their site. And if you guys don't already know what Pristine Auction is, it's an awesome signed memorabilia website that has daily auctions from baseball, basketball, to football, comic books, entertainment, historical items, you name it, they have it signed. Everything you see behind me, all these signed jerseys, and there's also signed helmets as well, they have on their website daily, and you can really find some good deals just searching up anything you're interested in. I like to search Packers helmet or Packers full-size helmet or Packers jersey and look at all those items because a lot of them don't have a reserve, and you can bid on these items and actually get really good deals, and then easily upgrade your football man cave or sports bar, whatever it may be, with all those awesome signed items like the ones behind me. So when you guys register on their website using code BAS to get entered in this giveaway, I also suggest you guys to head over, look at all the items they have up for bid on the website, and attempt to bid on some and see what deals you can get. That's at pristineauction.com. I'm going to put all the links down in the description below. Register on their website using code BAS. All right, so now let's jump right into this mock draft. I'm going to be doing my separate mock draft tomorrow as well, including a specific Aaron Rodgers trade to a specific team. It's not going to be the New York Jets like this mock draft has. Since my first Aaron Rodgers trade mock draft included the Jets, I want to do different ones as well. But this one is with the Jets. Quickly, we're going to go over the picks before the Packers. The Colts traded with Chicago, selected CJ Stroud. Could definitely see a team jumping into the first spot to grab Stroud or Bryce Young there. Texans take Bryce Young at 2. Cardinals, Jalen Carter at 3. The Bears, Will Anderson at 4. Honestly, would be a good trade for the Bears to drop from 1 to 4, pick up that draft capital, and still get someone like Will Anderson. I would hate that, obviously, because no one wants to see the Bears succeed. The Panthers here at 5, Anthony Richardson. The Lions at 6, Brian Branch. The Raiders at 7, Will Levis. The Titans at 8, Broderick Jones. The Seattle Seahawks at 9, Lucas Van Ness. The Eagles at 10 get Christian Gonzalez. The Falcons at 11 getting Miles Murphy. And the Texans at 12 getting Jordan Addison, wide receiver. So then we see here the Packers at pick 13 from the New York Jets, selecting wide receiver Quentin Johnston out of TCU. And it says trade. Jets receive Aaron Rodgers, pick number 116. And the Packers receive pick 13, a 2024 second rounder, and a 2024 third rounder. And the description states, that's right, Aaron Rodgers is on the move to New York. The Jets look to maximize a 1 to 2 year window with their current roster, while the Packers add a first rounder and change in the process. So let me first start with the compensation here. I think the Packers could get more than this from the Jets. Obviously, I think it includes pick 13 if he is shipped off to New York there, but only getting a second round and third round from next year I feel like is a little bit light. If that was the case, I would kind of want a player back as well. Someone like wide receiver Elijah Moore, who was actually included in the trade I did in my mock draft with the Jets, but I do think they could get more than this from the Jets in general. I just feel like they'd be the team to give up the most for someone like Aaron Rodgers. But then moving on to the player, Quentin Johnston, I do like him a lot. I think it's kind of a risky pick here at pick 13. Obviously, another wide receiver went right before them in Jordan Addison, which I feel like I do like better than Quentin Johnston. But Johnston does have a lot of potential, but he also has a lot of bust potential as well. If we look here at his PFF profile, 6'4", 215 pounds, would be awesome to pair him with Christian Watson, having two giants out there at wide receiver. It says Johnston is a force of nature at 6'4" and 215 pounds. He was your vertical route tree X wide receiver in this class. For his college career, Johnston averaged 18.8 yards per reception. And as we see here for his stats, a 76.2 grade in 2022 with 1,067 yards and 6 touchdowns, 600 yards the year prior with also 6 6 touchdowns, and then 487 yards his freshman season in 2020 with 2 touchdowns. Now, the problem I have with Johnston here is there's not that crazy amount of production with someone like Jordan Addison here. And I know obviously Addison in this mock got selected before him. So if you were to take a wide receiver, it'd probably be between him, Flowers, Hyatt, and Jackson Smith and Jigba here. But also with him, he does have a drop issue. As we see, his drop rate for 2022 really high at 11.8%, those 8 drops there. Yards after catch per reception is good, a 8.9, which is tied for 10th. We see deep yards, 427. We also only see 8 contested catches, which a guy with his frame, 6'4", 215 pounds, you would kind of expect him to have more of a contested catch rate. As we see, are kind of on the low side, 34.8% here. Really good in yards per route run, 3.05. And as we see, he is that traditional X wide receiver. He's not really going to play much slot for you. 308 wide snaps in 2022, only 57 from the slot. And overall, through the past 3 years, hasn't played many slot snaps. And the Packers likely will be without a slot receiver if they don't end up bringing back Randall Cobb. So someone like Jordan Addison or Jackson Smith and Jigba or Zay Flowers might be a better fit if you plan on having Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs as the outside guys. Doubs can play some slot as well, or say if you're trading for, a veteran like DeAndre Hopkins or something of that sort, you kind of want to think about adding a versatile guy in the first round. If you're going to draft a wide receiver, a guy that can play outside, can play the slot, because you're going to be very, very thin at that slot position. Now, I definitely do think Johnston is going to go in the first round in this draft, and obviously a lot can change from now until draft day. Other players can rise up on the board. Someone like Jalen Hyatt is really flying up boards from Tennessee there. But I just don't know if he's really worth the risk here at pick 13. Now, yes, you do have 2 first-round picks in this instance, and we'll go over their next pick in this next one. But I just don't know if the risk is really worth it there after trading Aaron Rodgers to bring in someone like Quentin Johnston, when, in my opinion, other players that are still on the board would give you more value at 13. The next player off the board is the New England Patriots, selecting in between our 2 picks at pick 14, and they selected Paris Johnson, tackle. See, that's someone who I think if the Packers were to be at 13 and he was sitting there, they might select him over someone like Quentin Johnston. Dude can play both left tackle and right tackle. The Packers kind of have a need at tackle. I wouldn't say it's their biggest need, but in terms of always adding tackle depth and lineman depth in general, it's a good idea. So then for the Packers, next pick in the first round in this mock draft, which I love this pick. If this were to happen, they select Tyree Wilson, edge out of Texas Tech. I don't see any way he falls to 15, but if the draft were to go this exact way, I would be extremely happy with this pick. Honestly, if this was the case, they should select him at 13 and then worry about pick 15 afterward. It states here, the Packers capitalized on one high upside prospect falling down the board with Johnston, and they do it again here with Texas Tech edge rusher Tyree Wilson. Wilson is almost 1 of 1 in terms of his power capacity at 6'6", 275 pounds and near 36-inch arms. He can be a bulldozer in close quarters, but Wilson also has the athleticism to serve as a stand-up rusher. And yeah, I see Wilson definitely going top 10 in this draft. He is 7th on the PFF big board. If he some way fell to pick 15, I say you run that card up. The Packers have a big need at edge. They need edge depth desperately. Preston Smith is only getting older. Rashawn Gary just tore his ACL. Who knows when he'll return. Kingsley Enagbare looks very promising, but regardless, they needed to add an edge player early. And if that was someone like Tyree Wilson, just an absolute freak of an athlete and has the size, it says here on PFF, Wilson is a handful for every lineman who has to block him. The 6'6", 275-pounder will have the length advantage against almost every NFL tackle he faces. He boasts inside-outside versatility and put up 50 pressures in 2022. And if we look at his stats here, a 74.9 overall grade in 2022, 8 sacks this year, 6 sacks last year, 2 sacks in 2020, pass rush grade 79.4, run defense grade 72.8, a extremely high 22% pass rush win rate, and a really nice 10% run stop rate. Overall, I think drafting someone like Tyree Wilson at pick 15 would be a slam dunk. This mock draft also includes a 2nd and 3rd round, so quickly want to go over their 2nd round pick here, and they draft safety Antonio Johnson out of Texas A&M. Another really big need for them is safety, so getting this here in the 2nd round, someone like Antonio Johnson who has a lot of high upside, I think would be also a really nice pick. It says a value deal this late. Antonio Johnson gives the Packers a high upside prospect to mold. He's a long, explosive athlete with an unhinged physicality coming downhill. PFF has him as their 30th ranked prospect, so getting him here at 45 I think would be another steal. And so far, if the Packers were to steal Tyree Wilson at 15 and Antonio Johnson at 45. I would definitely be really happy here. PFF says Johnson is the new age slot corner in the NFL. At 6'3", he can shut down windows underneath and then easily close to ball carriers in the run game with a wide tackle radius. He earned a 81.6 and 87.4 overall grades in his 2 seasons as a starter. So interestingly enough there, they kind of picture him as more of a slot cornerback, but the Packers use their safeties in many different ways. So he has a lot of versatility, which I think the Packers need at safety. I do believe they need to get a true, deep safety, but this guy can do it all. As we see here, 110 deep snaps, 128 in the box, 280 in the slot. So yeah, he does project more as that slot nickel, safety nickel corner type guy, which the Packers still very well could use. So getting someone like Antonio Johnson here in the second round, I think would be really nice. 55 tackles this year, 58 last year, a 79.7 coverage grade, and an 83.7 run defense grade in 2022. Then with the final pick here in the third round at pick 78, they have the Green Bay Packers selecting Dalton Kincaid, tight end out of Utah. I do not expect him to be anywhere near pick 78. I expect him to go in the second round, maybe even sneak into the top end of the first round. A lot of people have him over Michael Mayer. It says here, Dalton Kincaid can succeed and even be an upgrade over Robert Tonyan with his traits. Yeah, I do believe he would be an upgrade over Robert Tonyan. We see here on PFF, they have him ranked as their 35th best player. So if the Packers were to get him at 78, which I just don't see happening, again, I would be ecstatic, just like the Tyree Wilson and Antonio Johnson picks. Here it says at 240 pounds, Kincaid bridges the gap between tight end and wide receiver. Teams are not going to draft him for his blocking ability, but he's at least serviceable in that regard. Kincaid can be a focal point on offense with his route running ability and was with 70 catches and 890 yards for Utah last season. And he definitely was a real receiving threat at Utah last season, a 90.2 grade in 2022, 70 receptions, 890 yards, 8 touchdowns, also had 510 yards last year, a 91.7 receiving grade, 2.42 yards per route run, a 50% contested catch rate, really low 2.8% drop rate with only 2 drops last year, 187 deep yards, which is tied for 6th, deep catches 6, tied for 3rd, and contested catches he had 9, which was tied for 7th. So overall, if the Packers went down this road, trading Aaron Rodgers to the New York Jets, getting draft capital, although it is just a 2nd and 3rd rounder next year, but picking up pick 13, and the draft ended up going this way, I would be very happy. You're surrounding Jordan Love with a lot of talent, with Quentin Johnston, if he does turn into what you expect him to be. Having him paired with Christian Watson, I think would be an extremely deadly duo if Jordan Love becomes the quarterback you expect him to be as well. Then getting someone like Tyree Wilson at pick 15, who I see as a top 7 pick, I think would be an absolute steal. They have extreme needs at edge there. Then Antonio Johnson at pick 45, who again, I think that would be a steal there. I see him going before pick 45. They have a need at safety. They have a need at nickel corner. And then Dalton Kincaid there in the 3rd round at pick 78. I don't see him falling that far, but if that were the case, like I said, with all these picks, 3 of them, in my opinion, would be complete steals, and then one of which is kind of that high-risk, high-reward type situation with Quentin Johnston at pick 13. But I want to hear your thoughts down in the comments below of this mock draft. Obviously, like I said before, a lot of things are going to change from now until the actual draft, and some of these players might rise a ton and fall a ton, and the draft board won't lay out like this. And this is all based on the Packers potentially trading Aaron Rodgers, which we still really don't know anything about at this point. But it's still fun to sit here and speculate and see what it would kind of look like. But that about does it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like down below and also hit that subscribe button if you are new here. But I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching, and as always, go Pack.